Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Oscar Cartagena. Uh, please welcome my friend Elmer here. I don't know if you can see him. Hey, how's up, Elmer?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm Elmer Rivas from El Monte, California. How is everybody doing today?
Yes. Hope everyone is doing all right. And please introduce yourself, Elmer, at least briefly to the public to give yourself who you are. Well, I'm gonna introduce myself first, because shame on me. I am Oscar Cartagena, and I am 25 years old as we speak. I am from Los Angeles, unfortunately, a very stupidly expensive city. Anybody who knows that.
Oh,
But yeah, I hope everyone is doing okay, and I hope everyone can afford anything on today. And as of me right now, I have basically. Oh yeah, this is something I forgot to tell you. Uh, I've basically applied for university, and my student portal is now up. So unfortunately, I don't know if I got applied or admitted to the university just yet. I got admitted to CSUN, basically CSUN, Cal State Northridge. Northridge, from what I hear, is a middle class neighborhood. Everyone who knows about Northridge, California, it is a middle class neighborhood. So the colleges that I would not recommend, and I hate to say this, but I'm not saying this only because of opinion, but I'm saying this because anybody who's blind or anybody who's ever been in safe areas or not so many safe areas should not consider Cal State Dominguez Hills. That area is extremely isolated from what I heard. Have you ever, what do you think about these regions, Elmer?
yeah. I don't know. I know people in Northridge, and I know that it is pretty. Oh, it's what'd you say, middle class?
Middle class, yeah, middle class. So you think that these Northridge is actually pretty safe? From what you've heard, you've never heard of any dangerous things happening in Northridge, right?
No, not that I know of. You know, there is. I have heard of like on the news about some dangerous stuff there, but not through people I know that live there or in that area.
Basically, it's not prone to gang violence, or like I said, the places that are more prone to gang violence. Like, speak to us about your city, about what you know in El Monte. So what's up with you? Like, well, introduce yourself, like to everybody. What's up? What's up with you? Who you are? What you're doing.
All right, my name is Elmer Rivas. I am from El Monte, California. Well, originally I was born in the city of East LA, and I have been living in El Monte. I was raised in El Monte since I was 7 years old, and now I've been living here for 19 years and 2 months. In November, it'll be 20 years, God willing. And I like to listen to music. I like to socialize with friends, go out to eat like I did with Oscar. We just came from this local business called Rob's Grill in
Yes.
the city of Baldwin Park. And we both had the six-piece chicken strips with fries and garlic bread, which is very delicious. And I also like to talk to friends. Like I said, I like sports. I love sports. I can't wait for tomorrow's football games to determine who will go to Super Bowl 57. We'll determine that tomorrow. We will see who goes. My prediction is that the 49ers will beat the Eagles and the Chiefs will beat the Bengals, and we will have a rematch of Super Bowl 54, which was 3 years ago. And we'll see. I think San Francisco is going to win the whole thing this year. So, to all those people in the Bay Area, uh, good luck. And I think the Niners are going to have another championship for you for the Bay Area, who, by the way, that would mean that a second Bay Area team would be celebrating a title in less than a year, like the Golden State Warriors celebrated a title back in June.
Yes, yes. Congratulations to them. And if you guys have heard about our team, I'm not really into sports much, but I do know that the NFL has basically had one of the biggest victories in LA. The Rams won the Super Bowl in 2022
That was
of
awesome.
of what date was it?
It was on, it was last year. It was almost a year ago. Sunday, February 13th. It was a very historic day for the city of Los Angeles as they won the Super Bowl. Only the second championship that the city of LA has when it comes to the NFL. Obviously, the Raiders won one back in the 80s. And, the Rams did go to a couple of Super Bowls when they were in LA in the 80s, but they lost. And they finally won one last year. It was nice to see. Although I'm not a Rams fan, but I was happy for the city. I'm a Raiders fan in football. I've been a Raiders fan for years. And next year, the Raiders play in Vegas now. So next year, the Super Bowl will be in Vegas. So the hope is that the Raiders will be representing, the Raiders will be in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas next year. That's the hope. For that, we have to get a really good quarterback. I don't know if it's Tom Brady. I don't know who it is. But we have to get a good quarterback to go to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to actually discuss this bit further based on the news that I've heard earlier this year. It was like somehow in the beginning, exactly. I guess it was in the beginning where 25th. Where it was a player in his 20s. He unfortunately had a heart attack and collapsed and died. When was that? What happened? Basically, what have you heard
You're
about
talking about
that?
the football player?
Yeah. What happened?
Well, actually, first of all, let me say that thank God he survived. He's improving, and yes, he did collapse. It was a game that a lot of people that watched the game or saw on social media will remember that it was a player named Damar Hamlin, one of the defensive players for the Buffalo Bills. Sadly collapsed on the field in January on January 2nd, and the game had to be canceled. It was never played. Now, they did play against each other last week, and Cincinnati won that game against Buffalo, but in the playoffs. But yes, unfortunately, that was a very unfortunate incident. But thanks to God, the player survived, and he is continuing to improve. And he talks. And in fact, he was at the game last week. Buffalo unfortunately lost, but he was there. He was at the game, and that was very good to see.
That's good. Very glad to hear that. And our prayers are with those people, with the family, with the fans, of all those players. Anyways, I'm sorry to transition. I want to transition to our favorite memories, but based on this, we're not going to go into controversial topics in this first video as we say hello to everyone and to the YouTube community out here with this channel called The Western King. Anyways, so to my people out there, we like to reminisce and to remember our days in elementary school. For those people who have good memories, God willing, they have good memories. I feel I feel for those. I feel empathic for those people who have no good memories whatsoever about their childhood. God save them, and I do know that they're going to be in better hands when the time goes along, when it moves along. Anyways, so we remember something in Francis Blend. I'm only going to say this, not because of politics, and no, I'm not going to speak politics here. I'm going to speak more about the cafeteria food based on what we know. So can you tell me, Elmer, what kind of things have you noticed? What differences have you noticed in their foods?
I don't know, like some of the meals, I can tell you, they just don't taste the same. Like, when we were in elementary, I feel like cafeteria food in general was good. I praise all the food we had in elementary, the pan dulce. We get into that. We had a lot of good memories, but
basically, it's basically, for guys who don't know what pan dulce is, it's basically a sweet bread that's they call them conchas here in Spanish. Actually, they're really good, but over there it was kind of different because it had like some sort of icing at the top. Pan dulce was they had it on Mondays, and they also had cinnamon rolls on Monday as well. They had the food wrapped up in a some sort of bag on Monday, especially. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think I don't know. I've had a feeling that it's because on the weekends you didn't have, I don't know, the aluminum trays weren't available Mondays for some reason. They couldn't prepare the food, so they would just give you the food in the bag, and it tasted good, most of it, like the pan dulce and the cinnamon roll and all the other stuff. And then for lunch, we would also have food in a bag. It was always either like bean and cheese burrito or pizza. Now, I remember having the pizza on a bag, and then they would have pizza on the aluminum tray, like on a Wednesday or a Friday sometimes. And that pizza on the aluminum tray, in my opinion, was much better. It tasted better than the one they had on the bag, because the one on the bag, I don't know, it was like it had like pepperoni, it had cheese, but it was very soggy. It tasted, I remember it was, to me, I remember it being a little bit soggy. The one in the back.
Yeah, well, because it was kept in the bloody freezer. I remember that. Based that type of pizza was kept in the bag. So from what you know, that pizza versus the pizza in the foil was probably taken fresh. I remember it was more. It was basically more toasted. As time went along, I've noticed, especially when I went into my 5th grade or 6th grade years, it started to become more baggy. I mean, things started to increase, but then suddenly after 8th grade, or should I say 7th grade for Elmer's sake, because he went to a different middle school than I did. Wait, what? Let me see if this is working. Excuse me, guys. Hold on. This is
Speech on. Take picture. Speech off.
Oh, heavens. Anyways, there we go. Is it recording? Hold on. Excuse me while I do this because this is going to be a little loud.
Speech on. Stop. 10 minutes. 41. Speech off.
It's recording. So for Elmer's sake, the food during 7th grade or his 7th grade year at Oak Middle School, he went to Oak Middle School and I went to Irving Middle School, Irving Middle School started to become downhill ever since then, but in terms of the school, in terms of the school food. But what have you noticed back in 7th grade of your year, which I think was very interesting that you said?
Well, okay, first of all, let me clarify. In 7th grade, I did not go to Oak. I did go to Oak in 8th grade. But in 7th grade, I went to a school here in El Monte called Gidley. Gidley, G-I-D, Gidley.
Gidley.
It was, it was an okay school, but, like, the food was very, I don't know, it was like for example, they would, every few weeks, they would serve, like, this meal for breakfast with pancakes and sausage. The pancakes were so hard. It was like, it felt like you were eating a sweet tostada or something with honey. It was so, man, it was like so crunchy. And then, I don't know, like some of their foods, like, for example, they would give this weird food it was fish sticks, and they would put so much cheese on it.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
oh Lord!
It's like, come on. I'm like, this is not real. I mean, I ate it because I was hungry, because I knew that if I didn't eat, I was gonna starve the whole day. But I don't know. I didn't like it. Yes, when I went to Oak, there were some lunches that were good. In 8th grade, like their meals, some of their meals, like some of their entrees were good. Like the breakfast for lunch, that was one of my favorites. Their pancakes were actually soft, but the food that they would serve sometimes, they would be like crunchy French fries. It was French fries that were like literally, they were literally like cold and crunchy, especially when I was in high school.
Sounds like, listen, I could be wrong, but it sounds to me like if the French fries were crunchy, it sounds to me like they took it directly out of the fry. It was cold, but how cold was it? Was it like, they warmed it up and then they left it out just to sit there and stuff?
I think so, but it was crunchy somehow. It was cold, and I ate it, but it was cold. It was one of those, like, it was like if you were eating a sandwich, like a cold sandwich on a field trip, which, I mean, that's normal to eat a cold sandwich.
I remember actually when we ate peanut butter and jelly, especially for field trips. What did they had earlier besides peanut butter and jelly? Was it like some sort of like bologna sandwich or turkey sandwich?
The first field trip I remember, that was, well, okay, you know what? I will say this. I remember that when I was in kindergarten, the first time I remember going to Griffith Park was in 2000, May 10th, 2002. And I remember that day because we went to Griffith Park, and I remember my teacher, his name is Estoy Cunanan. She bought us burgers and fries from one of the restaurants at Griffith Park or outside of the park.
God willing, hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, guys, we'll run into our old teachers. They'll come and say hi in the comments. What's up, everyone? So yeah. Anyways, continue.
I would like to see Mrs. Toy. I haven't seen her in years. Yes. Anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. But she so yeah, she bought us. But then, of course, in 1st grade, when I was in 1st grade and I started going to field trips, yeah, it was all about sandwiches. I remember going to this. It was a place called Eaton Canyon.
Eagle
Well,
Canyon.
it's in Pasadena. I forgot what it's about.
Wait. So if was it like a national park or some sort of thing?
Yeah,
Was
it's
it?
kind of like a national park.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. And so, I don't remember like a lot about that. Like, I remember it was a Thursday and we went, but I remember eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in that field trip. And I'm like, wait, I kind of wanted them to buy me a burger because I thought after going to Griffith Park and buying burgers like that one time in Kinder, I thought that was going to be a reward. And then when I went to Griffith Park,
Speech on. Stop recording video. Speech off.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
when I went to Griffith Park in 03, which by the way, that is one of the worst memories I have from that because anyway, I had an incident, but I expected burger, but I wanted, I wanted a burger with fries again, but they ended up giving me bologna sandwiches, which I didn't eat because right before lunch there was an incident that was not funny. I think I might have told you this story. The monkey bars, and I fell. I fell backwards, and then, the mat was not the big issue. The big issue was that I twisted my arm
Ooh.
and my wrist, and I went into pain for like literally 3 days.
That was unfortunate because, okay, let me explain briefly what happened, especially, just to get out of the subject about balonies and field trips and stuff like that, packed lunches. So, I was going to tell you, one time I was at Francis Glen, and since they had like a little playground right there, and there were monkey bars there too. And because of those monkey bars that we would hang ourselves from, I had a similar incident. But I was standing on one of those platforms. What were they called again? Over those platforms?
No, I don't know.
It was a platform. It was like a flat
I don't
thing.
remember.
Yeah, it was like no, it was like a sort of railing. It was like a sort of thing, and so I would be hanging myself from the monkey bars. And I remember one of those days that I took a look at my hand. In the middle of my palm of my hand was a blister, basically, because I did something to the skin of my hand to the point where Miss Carmen, or like basically our one of our assistant teachers, came and looked at my hand and said, "Ooh, you got a blister in your hand." And if we see Miss Carmen, God willing, I'll tell her I said hi, because I'm willing to see all my teachers in the comment section. Anyway, so yeah. So, I remember those 3 days, 4 days, they were agony because it cut my skin, and then I needed a Band-Aid. And it was the first time me encountering a cut or some sort of Band-Aid that I could remember, because maybe I had cuts before, but that was the first ones I remember. It was during what was that year? Seven? No, when I was 7 or 6. I can't remember how old I was, but I do remember that was the first time I remember having a Band-Aid. And believe me, one of the first cuts or the first incidents you have in your life, they're really memorable. Believe me, it's like true. I'm not going to put it in an exaggerated sense, traumatic, but it's so memorable to the point where it's just there in your memory for a long time. And
Right.
you're kind of afraid to easily get hurt because you don't want to fall into that same incident that you thought you're doomed or whatever. Like, so how did you feel based on the fact that you got your arm twisted? How did you get that treated?
Went to the nurse, gave me a couple of ice packs to put on my sore wrist, which was hurting a lot, and I couldn't really move it. And every time I tried to lift it up or whatever, every time I moved it, it would just be painful.
Yeah, I remember this one incident I had when I fell off a bike, and somebody got in the way. I don't know what guy got in the way, but if you guys remember, my mom remembers this very well. I'm not sure if my sister does, but my mom definitely remembers this very well, because I had an appointment with some sort of cardiologist or some person, because there was a case I had long ago with my heart, but that was like long ago. I don't remember. Maybe that just disappeared. The doctor wanted to see if things have improved, and yes, God be good, things have improved. Anyways, so yeah, the same situation happened with me. Well, not same, but I hurt my neck somehow, and I had this really big sore on my neck. It was right there by my chest. So Yeah, right by the chest. For those who can't see, it's right there. Anyway, so I basically had that incident, and the area was sore for a day. A day. Just imagine those bloody memories that you had, especially when you were a kid. A day. It was sore for one day. And I couldn't even touch it because I remember when the nurse came and asked me, is it hurting? Is it hurting? I said, yeah, but when you touch it, it really hurts. I was being very honest but those people who were witnessing me witnessing or whatever, they never ever had any pity to take me to the nurse unless it was somebody who was like one of my assistants or whatever, or the teachers that were there. And from what I remember, the nurse was really nice. But I'll tell you, the thing that I feared the most was going home early. I didn't want them to say, you're going to have to go home early. Why? Because I loved being in school back then. If you remember those days, Elmer, do you remember?
Yeah, I know what that's like, except my reasonings for loving school was more of me wanting to be around certain students that I had a crush on.
Yes.
That was
yes.
me in elementary. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. It was you were doing elementary, but it was just a fun memory. We would walk around the turf, but what I would think in my head was, we're just having a good time. We're just sitting there laughing and talking. Even in the what they call the hoppity balls things, where you actually get to bounce yourself. If you're small enough, you get to do that, and
that was fun.
I remember this one Christmas. Do you remember Vamos para rancho? I don't want to leave it late. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, vamos para rancho. I don't want to leave it late. Yep. Christmas
Yeah.
a little too, and then I do remember an incident where two of our friends, one of them was trying to change it to hip hop music, and the other one was trying to change it to Spanish.
Okay, so let me tell the story briefly. I was spinning on a dizzy disc. It was a dizzy disc because it basically made you dizzy. You see, the thing is, the goal of the dizzy disc is to spin you around.
Yeah.
Like around and around. But it was fun, right? And afterward, you would just feel very dizzy. So it's called the dizzy disc because it was this rounded object, like a spinner. And you would spin around and around, propelled by the motion in your hands when against the floor. And I remember when I was spinning, one of the kids was named Irvi, and the other was named Andy Lopez. Well, Andy Lopez, if you get to watch this, man, you remember this very well. Hopefully you'll join us in a video soon. You changed the station to a hip-hop station, Andy. Well, so did you, Irvi. I hope Irvi gets to watch this as well. Changed it to a Mexican station. And bloody hell, man. You guys fought for the radio for endless amounts of minutes until recess was over. How long did it last, Elmer? Was it until recess was over, pretty much?
Yeah, I think so. It was funny. It was crazy. But yeah, I remember that day. We were on the turf, and they had a radio outside. Yeah, every lunchtime, I remember. Excuse me. Somebody would turn on the radio.
Yeah.
And, they would play radio every day. Yeah. By the way, that's actually, I discovered some songs like that. I'll say one of them. In 2005, on Thursday, June 9th, I discovered, of course, that's a classic song that came out in the 70s or 60s, but no, 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 no.
No, 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 no. Hey.
Good. But I remember hanging out on the turf, and somebody was playing KRF 101 outside, and they played that song. Like, oh, that's a good song. Yeah, but I didn't know about it till then. So
yeah, I remember also that too. Well, I'll tell you what. There was an occasion, right? I don't know if you remember, Elmer, where they had a farm exhibit or some sort of fruit and vegetable exhibit, and they had these weird CDs with these weird songs that we took home after that event. You remember that, Elmer? The fruits, vegetables, and then they would tell us how to eat healthy or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. The pyramid.
Oh yeah, the food pyramid. Yes. But I thought was really interesting was not the food pyramid, because it was a bit complicated for me to understand, was the food group. Well, not the food group. Was it? It was the cycle. Well, when you put food in your mouth, it goes out into your stomach. And the food, the nutrients go all over your body. And yeah, that's how you get That's how you get all the nutrients and stuff like that. So that's what happens. Anyways, I don't know how long we're gonna have much time, but anyways, so before this gets any long, I welcome you guys to subscribe and to like our videos and to ring the bell for a notification if you guys want to get your future videos. Anyways, this is Oscar Cartagena, coming to you, well, not really live, but coming to you as our first intro video. If you want to say anything else, Elmer, because I don't want to make this any longer, later we'll consider them. I want to give these users a warm welcome. So what do you think?
Yeah, no, welcome, and, hope you can watch this video, and yeah, please support Oscar on this video.
Yes, support the Western King. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well, and goodbye for now. Goodbye.
Bye.